All right, so we are finally back for another episode of Proofs in the Pudding. Today we are joined by...
Hi, I'm Meghan, and I'm the singer of Divine Sweater.
And today you suggested that we make eggplant parmesan.
I did.
Well, divine eggplant parmesan, I should say.
Yeah.
What made you think about this recipe? I know we had talked about that, but it's been a little...
I am a vegetarian as of a year ago, so I have about 4 meals that I cycle through that I know how to make. So this is one of them. The other one was like nachos or potato skins. So
right, yeah.
The fanciest one.
You know, a classic. Everyone, at least everyone who's tried eggplant parm seems to like it.
Yeah, it's a good one. This is also a very lazy version of the recipe. So I'm sorry if we offend any people who are actual cooks, because I think
any Italian grandmothers or home chefs just look
Yeah.
away for select bits of this.
Yeah, I think people usually like use the oven too, but being lazy.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So, is the entire thing prepared in the pan?
I do it like that, but again, out of laziness and lack of good kitchen appliances. So.
Hey, I mean, it seems fun. It seems easy. It seems laid back. Let's do it. Why not? Yeah. So I got all my ingredients kind of just laid out. I filmed this in my friend's apartment, so I have to like trek everything over there. And for the COVID people out there, she's not here. We are separated, so no risky contamination happening.
Yes.
I
already cut mine up very thin.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. My other question, I do cook a lot. I love to cook. I cook like, especially now in quarantine, probably most of my meals for myself.
Yeah.
But I've never used an eggplant like ever in my life. So this is a first.
Wow. Exciting. Yeah, I usually try to slice it really thin if I'm cooking it in the pan, just because it doesn't really get crispy. And if it's too thick, it's kind of like, yes, love it.
Great.
So,
amazing. How has everything been since you guys released the album?
It's been good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because we had put out singles from the album, so there really wasn't too much left to release by the time we put out the album, but
yeah, it's
been good. And it's funny, whenever we put out music, it's really hard to tell what songs people are gonna like. It's sometimes really different than what we think, but one of the songs that we put out with the album, people seem to really enjoy, which is What If They Find Me Out. And it wasn't necessarily, we love it, but it wasn't necessarily one we saw doing as well as it's doing right now. So that's a good plus. But yeah, things
personally, my favorite is I Knew You Better, but that's just my opinion. I mean, that's probably like one of the most, it's just like immediately everything kind of just like stops when that song comes on when I'm listening to it, and I just sort of like sit there and I'm like, oh, this is so nice. This is just such a nice tune to listen to.
Thank you. Appreciate that. We actually had our first show back this week.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, how did that go?
It was great. We played a very small show at Fitchburg State. It was like their spring concert.
Wow, nice.
So it was awesome, and I just felt grateful that we could do it in a safe way. Obviously, like the school organized it, so it was only a couple people, and they were in really small pods. And it felt really safe, but I just was so grateful to play again after over a year. So
yeah, when I guess like when was your last show?
Our last show before that was in February 2020.
Nice. Yeah.
So yeah, it was over there. But yeah, it was good to play the new songs for the first time and see how they work live.
How was like the feeling stepping back on stage and like actually being in front of people again?
It was awesome. It was so great. Like, yeah, we just had so much fun. And it was just so good to, be together playing in front of people.
Definitely.
Again, even just like with a group of the 5 of us. So it was so great. And I don't know, it's so hard to tell what this year is going to be like and what this summer will be like. It made me hopeful for sure.
Nice, nice. Yeah, do you guys have do you have like any other shows lined up right now, I guess?
We're trying to, but I don't know, it's hard to kind of like navigate this landscape, and obviously we want
Yeah.
to always be as safe as possible. And so we're trying to figure it out, but I think everyone's just trying to figure it out.
The next few months are going to be very interesting for the entertainment world, but it's
Yeah.
at least nice to sort of see everything like starting to take shape again. Like
Yeah.
at least like September, October seems to be the sweet spot where everyone's like, okay, let's start scheduling shows. Let's start like
Yeah.
having festivals again.
Yeah. Some of the Boston venues were already started posting stuff about the fall.
I guess a more general question about the band. I was just curious where did the name Divine Sweater come from? Like, is there like a story behind that?
Yeah. So we actually started off when we kind of like came together, we started off with the name Small Talk. But then we kind of like changed the band around a little bit. And so we wanted like a new name for a new sound. And Sean, my bandmate, has an great uncle who is he works at Providence College. He's like a friar. And so he basically, his family, like Sean's family, owned this company called Seavers Express for a long time. And so they had these sweaters that were these like really cool vintage sweaters that said Seavers Express. And Sean had one that was like very worn and that he wore all the time. And then one time he went to visit his great uncle, and he had this like pristine version of the sweater, like that had never been worn. And it was just this other version of something that he wore all the time. And so we always joked about it as like the Divine Sweater being kind of like this 2.0 sweater. And so when we were thinking about changing our name, it just felt like this cool metaphor for us trying to redefine our sound. And so it's something we kind of joked about, but we knew it was unique and it kind of, yeah, metaphorically fit what we were going for. So.
And I was very happy when I realized you guys took the opportunity to release Divine Sweaters on your merch store.
Yeah, we have 2 different sweaters now, so you got to do it. If the merch is in your name, you got to do it.
So I'm kind of figuring everything out. I got my eggplant cut up now. I got my breadcrumbs. Okay, so the Parmesan cheese goes in there. Are your pans already like heating up, getting ready to go?
I did not do that yet, but I will do that right now.
So seeing how you kind of build this all in like the one pan, how much oil do you put into it?
I just try to get it so that the whole thing has a layer. Like
Okay.
as long as the whole thing has some oil on it.
So the album kind of was working on for like a while. How did like COVID come into effect with all of that?
It was already done by the time COVID hit. Like we'd already put out a couple songs from it. I think what it really affected was not being able to do like an album release tour or show, obviously, but kind of the way we approached that is we just tried to do as much online stuff as we could. We did some of the, like live stream shows and stuff like that, but we also tried to make a bunch of our own music videos and kind of like performance videos and tried to like continue to perform in a different way as much as we could, but it obviously wasn't the same. So hopefully now that shows are picking back up again, we can kind of premiere these songs. But we actually just did a ton of writing over quarantine. Like we wrote and recorded an entire other album.
Do you have plans or like an idea for when this next one could be released?
Well, it's already recorded, so it's really just kind of like mixing it now. I mean, I would hope, sometime, I don't know, maybe next fall or winter, we would start putting stuff out. There's obviously just so much to write about because the world is a crazy place at this point. So
yeah, endless miserable material to go off of.
Yeah. I feel like there's just going to be such a boom of new music because of this. Like so many people are I'm sure just did the same thing as us, and they're going to put out a ton of music. So
yeah, and people are going to be like touring constantly,
which is good. Like I can't wait to go back to just watching live shows. Like I can't wait to see other bands playing too.
Live streams were like a nice little remedy for the time being. Yeah. But I mean, obviously, like in no way does that compare to the actual deal of like seeing a concert for the real thing.
It was kind of a good test as performers though, because we did a few of them, and usually when you're at a show, you're feeding off the audience and you're feeding off, you know, people like dancing and singing and things like that. But it was just so funny playing to a phone or playing to a laptop and just having to keep the same energy without all the people.
Are you at the point where you're kind of ready to start breading these, or?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Why is the album called The 10-Year Plan?
I think we're kind of playing off of this thing that just kept coming up for all of us, which is like people asking us what our plan was for like our 20s, you know, like what's your 5-year plan, what's your 10-year plan? And I think it's just been such a formative time for us, like in our 20s, but we don't have a plan. Like, and I think what we're trying to do with the album is talk about how plans are really kind of nonsense, because you really just never know what's going to happen. And so,
of course,
we tried to kind of get at some of those emotions that I think a lot of people, not only our age, just in general, feel, where you're just asked that same question over and over again, and you have to come up with some sort of like fake plan to, I don't know, to like ease other people's, you know, fear for what your life is going to be like.
You can have a plan for like your parents and your grandparents, but like for yourself, you know, things change.
Yeah. I think with something like music, it is really hard to plan because so much of it is really out of your control. And I think when we were younger, you know, like when we were just starting, I think we had this like plan for, you know, how we're going to just like make it like as musicians. And it's just such a beast of a world that we didn't anticipate. And I think that's one of the things that we're talking about in the album too. But the song 10-Year Plan is a little bit sarcastic. Like the chorus is just, it's all part of this 10-year plan I made. And I think that's something that I do a lot, like kind of lie about having some sort of plan in place when I don't actually have it. So a lot of the songs talk about kind of, you know, economic instability and like self-doubt, social insecurity. And I think it's funny that we put the album out now because we wrote it all more in like a general sense, like thinking about how we all had different plans that aren't necessarily working out the way we anticipated. But then the pandemic hit and it's like, well, everyone's plans are now ruined. You know what I mean? Like life is just so unpredictable. It doesn't make sense sometimes to have.
Yeah. Someone just hit like a giant pause button somewhere and all of us are just like, oh crap, what do we do now?
Yeah.
So checking in, I'm done breading all of mine. How are you doing with them?
I'm good too.
Good.
Yeah, my directions might not be exact. I practiced making it and then I sent you a recipe. So we'll see how it goes today with that same timing.
I'm sure it'll be fine. It's going in the way that I believe eggplant parmesan would go. So nothing strange or out of the ordinary so far. How heavily do you salt your water? Because I kind of freak my family out when I salt my pasta water.
I put a ton. Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. It changes the taste.
Well, I grew up watching the Food Network, and I learned from them that, or specifically from Giada De Laurentiis, that it's supposed to taste like the Mediterranean Sea. So apparently very salty.
Right. I agree with you. Yeah, eggplant parm is good because like most of the things I eat are like bread or pasta and cheese or potato. And I feel like it can be disguised as something healthy because it's like a vegetable base, but you know, it has all the good stuff too. Some of my bandmates were really jealous that I got to do this because they are like incredible cooks and I'm
really?
Yeah, I can make literally 4 things and they are like masterful chefs.
Home chefs. So I guess kind of like going off of the idea of having a 10-year plan. I know you said we kind of both agree that having one is a little asinine at this point, but as a kid, like, did you ever have any of those sort of like, I'm going to be this when I'm older, and just like felt it and knew that that was going to be your path?
To be honest, like I really wanted to be a musician. Like I really just wanted to do music. Like I've always written music and like I used to sing with my sister and like my family is very musical. Like my uncle is a very successful musician and still plays a lot. And so like growing up with him and just like with a family that loves music, I was just like, that's what I want. That's what I want to do. I have like a million songs from when I was younger that I recorded on my phone, and stuff that I always wanted to have them like recorded and do something with them. So like being in this band has been awesome to like actually just like get music out into the real world.
Yeah, who would you say like are your like main big influences, I guess?
Yeah, definitely Joni Mitchell. I think Stevie Nicks too, a lot. Cranberries. I really like the Cocteau Twins. I think one thing that's funny about our band is we all have such different but intersecting musical tastes and like musical inspiration. So if you asked all of us this question, we would all have such a wildly different take. Like someone would say Miles Davis and someone else would say Steely Dan, and then I would say like Joni Mitchell and someone else would say like Beach Boys. It's just really all over the place, but I feel like that works to our credit because we try to get different sounds into our songs. But yeah, as a vocalist, Joni Mitchell is just ridiculous. So
If you had to, and you had to sort of like choose a different career path to go down, what else would you have saw yourself doing?
I really love visual art. Like I make all of our album artwork and all of our like single artwork and a lot of stuff that we post online. So I think yeah, like visual art, like a painter or something like that.
Yeah, I was wondering what the like inspiration or idea behind using collages as like your main artwork was.
Yeah, I think it fits our sound weirdly. I don't know why I think that, but I think our sound, like I was just saying, is kind of a mix of just so many different things all the time, and there's always a lot going on, which is something I like and enjoy. And so I think collages do that in a really colorful way. And so for this album, all of our artwork was basically collaged with newspaper. And I got that idea because when during quarantine, I was with my family and I was just like looking through a bunch of old newspapers that my mom had kept. And so a lot of the collages have like old newspapers from my family's house.
So what would you say your like go-to kind of ways to pass the time during quarantine were? Like what did you find yourself doing all those months?
We did a lot of writing. Like I really think I wrote more than I have in my life. I also like to write just like creatively. So that's something I try to do every day. And I got to do that a lot more as well. Yeah, I was with my family. And so we did like weird things. It felt like I was back in high school. It was actually cool. Like I'm the oldest of 4 siblings. And so we were all there. And it just felt like we were back in high school, but we were adults. And so we would do things like have wiffle ball games or like play board games. But it was just this totally different experience now because we were older and like, you know, young adults. But so that was really fun, just like being able to be with my family under the same roof for such an extended amount of time. Trying to like pass the time together was just really cool, and such a highlight of this like horrible situation. But it was funny, like I feel like with writing, with music, and also just creatively, there was just such a darkness that had never really been there before that I felt like, again, another silver lining was kind of this weird inspiration to change the sound or like change the lyrical content in a darker way. So I think that was something that is a weird silver lining as well, that it was this kind of like dark inspiration, sadly.
Yeah, having these cut thinly is very nice because they're cooking up like super fast.
Yeah. And I also like didn't even use the whole thing. Like I only use part of it and I'll just like use this for something else. So
Well, that is considerably larger than the eggplant that I had.
it is pretty big.
Okay, I'm done frying up my eggplant. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good too.
All right, so I'll kind of let you guide me through your method of assembling this.
Yeah. So I just like put cheese on it. let it kind of cook, and then I usually like just pour sauce all over it.
So when you say you could let it continue cooking, do you like keep them all in the pan and put cheese on it and then sauce?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm
And
gonna
again, this is just not an authentic way to make this dish. I'm so sorry to anyone who's offended, but like usually I think this is when people take it out, like, I don't know, put it in the oven with the cheese and the sauce, but I don't have the appropriate cookware to do that.
My grandmother will be very pleased that this is what I have chosen to make tonight.
Maybe not with the method, but with the dish.
Well, she's, I guess, an unconventional Italian grandmother. I'm not sure how much she would love hearing that, but it is true. She hates garlic, which I find like astounding.
Wow.
Yeah, and she is an Italian grandmother, but she is definitely not against using like a little cheat method to get somewhere faster. So she knows what she's doing. She's smart.
Yeah, both sides of my family are very Irish, so we got mostly potato-based situations going on.
I've got about a 50-50 split between Irish and Italian, so I just got a lot of strongly opinionated and stubborn people in my family. I like this method because the cheese is kind of like frying up on the edges.
Yeah.
And fried cheese is just so good.
Okay.
All right, so as we're finishing up, I did ask you about your childhood dreams, but would you say you have an idea of like where you would ideally retire to? Like where would you love to end up in your life?
Wow, that's a really good question. I think honestly, I am such a like summer person and such a warm place person. It doesn't make a lot of sense why I live in Boston because it's cold. Like I don't like snow really. So I feel like somewhere warm. I'm gonna say like, I don't know, Hawaii, even though I've never been to Hawaii and I know nothing about it, but I feel like that's where ideally I would like to retire. I don't know.
I can't imagine it's a bad place to live.
Yeah. Boston weather is not ideal for me.
No. I feel like so many people around here, like through like clenched teeth, are like, but we have seasons. It's so great. But then at some point, like everyone gets that shovel at 5 a.m. and heads outside into the dark, and you're like, this is hell. All right, I got my my eggplant parm melting, sizzling.
Awesome.
Appears to be doing what it is supposed to.
Yeah. So I just like put some pasta and then layer the other stuff on top. And I add more cheese, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to.
So before we take our fateful bite and finish this up, I guess what does the rest of the year look like for you and the Divine Company?
I hope we get to play a lot. I think we're gonna keep writing a lot.
Good.
As we do. And yeah, like I hope that this album does well, and I hope that we grow our listenership. I hope we grow as musicians and performers, and I hope we just kind of stay on like a upward trend.
Got my oh, I almost just lost all my eggplant parm. That would have been fantastic. But here we are.
Good save.
I don't want to jump the gun, but are you ready to try it?
Yes, I am.
Great. All right. Cheers.
Cheers. Sorry, I already ate it. How is it?
Pretty damn good.
Good.
You can't really go wrong with cheese, fried stuff, sauce, and pasta. So
we can. You really cannot.
And I think this was like so easy. I'll never, if I ever make eggplant parm again, which I know I will, I'll probably only do it this way.
Yeah.
Because I don't see like the point of dragging it out because this is the same thing.
I agree. I agree. That's why I did it.
Well, Thank you so much for spending some time with me this evening. Everyone watching, listen to the 10-year plan by Divine Sweater, available now on all streaming platforms everywhere, and pick up a Divine Sweater because it will fill you with the Holy Spirit. Anything else you want to plug before we go?
No, just thanks for having me, and thanks to anyone who listens to our music or who supports us in other ways by like coming to future shows or following us on social media or things like that. We really appreciate like any sort of love. So thank you.
Yeah, well, hey, everyone at Allston Pudding, we're big fans of the Divine Sweater, so keep doing it, and we'll keep listening.
Awesome. Thank you.